Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's episode of the mental health series. And today, with me, I am joined with very amazing faces over here. My name is Susan Mwenda. My pronouns are she, they. I work under LEHA. And I will let the person on my far right introduce themselves, please.
Hi, my name is Kai. I would pronounce they, them. I work with Jinsiangu. Is it the part where I introduced Jinsiangu?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Jinsiangu is an organization that is based in Kenya that works with intersex, transgender, and gender non-conforming persons in Kenya. So basically, what we do with those three thematic groups is that we provide safe spaces, psychosocial support. We also do research and advocacy to ensure that we create more spaces for this demographic.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Gathu. My pronouns are they, them. I work under LEHA. It's an LBQ organization based in Kiambu County. It deals with education, health, advocacy, and economic empowerment. When we talk about health, we talk about everything dealing with STI screening, mental health. We talk about breast cancer screening, cervical cancer screening. When we talk about economic empowerment, we talk about things that empower queer people to make money. This can include our recent discovery, I don't know, of candle making. Advocacy comes where peer educators are linked between the organization and the peers on the ground, where we cascade information from the organization to the peers.
Thank you.
You're not
And
gonna.
you.
So my name is Tanaka Maritim. My pronouns are he, him. I work under Jinsiangu as the mental health coordinator, and I'm also the focal person for trans persons in Jinsiangu. And I think my colleague has. Sorry. I think my colleague has pointed out what Jinsiangu does. And in my capacity, I am able to, as Gathu was said, connect the Watu Kwa ground, the IT agency persons Kwa ground with the organization. Thank you.
Ah, thank you so much. And with that said, I would honestly want to understand in your own context, what does mental health mean to you? I would start with you, please.
Oh my God. Mental health or mental illness?
Mental illness.
Mental illness.
Yeah.
Goddamn. Mental illness to me is the state, and I'm speaking as a person who has that a condition, is the state where you cannot really function as every other citizen in the country. You don't have the capacity to, go with the day-to-day activities because of the condition that you have.
Thank you. How about you, Gad?
To me, mental illnesses are disorders that affect my mood, behavior, and everything that happens to do with my everyday life. Yes.
Got it, with your everyday life. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes,
Just
Kai.
reiterate what Tanaka and Gaku have said. It's basically like clinically significant distress maybe, or just conditions that impair your day-to-day performance.
Thank you so much. So within this thing that is mental health is human rights. Like we all know, like we are entitled to the highest attainable standard of health, right? And that does not exclude mental health. Tell us about what types are you? I will not start with you. I have already started with you so much. Let me start from there. Tell us about a mental illness that you're conversant with.
Where do I
It
start?
continue.
Okay, first of all, disclaimer.
Yeah.
Personally, I have not encountered or I haven't gone through, I do not experience much of the mental illnesses or disorders, but in my capacity as a community organizer, a safety and security responder, and a programmer within the intersex, transgender, and gender non-conforming community, I've been able to interact with persons who go through this. And I think one of the common illnesses that I've encountered is depression, anxiety disorders, and of course disorders related to drug and substance abuse. And of course all of these are tied to structural factors, structural discrimination and violence that this particular community goes through. But yeah, I'll let the people with the lived experience do the thing.
Thank you. I will come back to you for the structural elements that contribute to it. How about you, Gadu?
I am a person living with PTSD, anxiety disorder, and clinical depression. Yes. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. This happens when you face a traumatic event in your past, and it influences every other event that you face in your future.
Oh, so I live with bipolar 1 disorder, and I really don't like it when people say, "Oh my God, the weather is bipolar," because no, it's not. Because then the next question you ask is, what exactly is bipolar, right? And my lived experience of what bipolar is would look like having elevated. So let me use my hands, yeah? There is depression and then there's mania. So I kind of oscillate between the two. So we have heightened senses of depression and heightened senses of mania. What exactly is mania? Mania for me, because bipolar is like your fingerprint. And for me, mania looks like heightened speech. Like it's basically like me rapping. For me, mania looks like hypersexuality. For me, mania is aggression. For me, mania is like a whole melee of issues where you'd see someone, and I think a lot of our communities, our society in general, usually says, "I'm saying cheesy," like the things that you do, the beating up of people. I haven't gotten there yet. Thank you, Jesus. But like the things that you do would more or less be encompassed with the term that is erratic. And when it comes to now the next stage, so we have the spectrum still. So we have mania, and the next one is hypermania. Hypermania is like a less severe form of mania.
Interacting with this when I knew what bipolar means. Before that, it was one of those things where people say, I feel bipolar. I'm bipolar today. The weather is bipolar. So sometimes I think it takes interacting with people to be able to see what they go through. But it shouldn't be that really. Like I shouldn't have to walk in your shoes or see the shoes that you wear for me to be able to empathize with the person. I'm a believer of believe people when they tell you what they're going through and give them the support that they need. Yeah, so yeah, but you
That's actually amazing now that you
Right.
brought it out, right? Like, you don't need to understand to respect. Yeah? You don't need to have a deep understanding of it to actually acknowledge. Because these are people.
Your
Yeah.
experience is unique to you. I'm gonna respect that for you. I don't have to walk in that shoe. I don't
Yeah.
have to go through it for me to understand, for me to respect what you're going through. Perfect.
Yeah, and on the on the depressive side, because there's unipolar unipolar depression, and then there's also like the depression that comes with bipolar, and most times like a lot of people just think it's just the depression that other people go through, but the depression that comes with bipolar, for me, usually goes from this is the spectrum, this is what is standard, and this is now the depression that we all know and are aware of. And then the depression that I go through is like from 0 to 100. I'm like, yeah, I'm really sad. I can't actually do anything. The basic definition of depression. But now it goes to a point where it gets to a suicidal, the headspace. I get to a suicidal headspace. And I think a while ago, maybe like 2 months ago, we were at a retreat, and I got an episode, a depressive episode, and I couldn't I was on the floor in my room, and I couldn't even do anything. I couldn't even like the activity of breathing was even taxing for me, and yeah. But the support that I got from Kai and my
Yeah,
other colleagues, I should pay you. Yes, we'll talk about that. Yes. But yeah, the support, as Kaya had pointed out, the support that we get from people who do experience this and the people who also don't experience this but still respect our experiences really goes a really long way. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We hear you. Gathu, you had mentioned something about coping mechanisms,
Oh,
like one of it being alcohol. Was that right?
Oh, goddamn.
Right. Tell
Yeah.
us more about that. Like, how is it with you, like, choosing coping mechanisms, and how are they? Are they healthy? Do they even do more harm than good? And how is it within like your within you navigating it? How are the coping mechanisms really helping you cope?
okay. Wow. I feel like I'm in the spot. Like, oh, you. Coping mechanisms. I am not gonna say mine are the healthiest, because one, trigger warning, I'm a self-harmer. That is not the healthiest of ways to cope. I have gotten into alcohol, drugs. They're not the healthiest of ways, but we cannot ignore the fact that the community, especially the community that we're in, is into those kinds of coping mechanisms because we do not know better. When I started out, when I had my first depressive episode, I had no one to talk to. I had no one to call, no one to feel like they understood me, no one to feel like, okay, I know I'm going through something. This is where I can go for help, and this is the place they're gonna refer me to, or these are the steps they're gonna give me. So when I first got my depressive episode, that is the first time I self-harmed. And that is also the first time I tried committing suicide. So coping mechanisms for me has been a roller coaster of being healthy and unhealthy. But we do not know the balance of healthy and unhealthy. What I consider healthy might not be healthy to you. What you consider healthy might not be healthy to me. Because to me, if I cope with alcohol, you cope with meditation. If you tell me you're coping in a way that is unhealthy, I'm going to look at you like, what do you mean? If it works for me, it works for me. So, coping mechanisms. But I'm going to say mine have not been the healthiest. Because I have gone from alcohol to weed to oris, drugs, to sleeping to avoid my problems, to not seeking therapy. Because when you say you're going into therapy, people are gonna look at you like, right? You're gonna be like, kwa nini unaenda therapy? Why are you not mentally stable? So therapy is kind of shunned. And that is why I'm very grateful for LEHA for doing the 3 minutes of silence. It's alternative methods of doing therapy. Like I can release my energy without necessarily doing one-to-one talk with a therapist. So coping mechanisms vary. I'm not gonna say mine are the healthiest.
Okay. Thank you so much. You also brought in an aspect of this being stigmatized, you being looked at as ule cheese. Right. Yeah. Kai, I want you to like take us through like what are some of the aspects that bring so much stigma around mental health?
Okay. So when I talk about mental health for ITGNC persons or this particular community or many marginalized communities, we have to look at it from different levels. First of all, there's the level of mental health in itself, even within the general population, is stigmatized. Like umesema therapy too, mse already ako like umechizi. Like why do you need to see a counselor, psychologist and all that? There's that level of stigma. Then there's the double stigma of now you have a mental health condition and also you're ITGNC in a country where you're not per se criminalized, but you're also not very accommodated within the law and the policies that exist. So there's double stigma. Then there's the stigma now, and this kind of stigmas, and they now become barriers to access to services. So say utaenda tu Madare, first of all kwenda Madare just as a normal Kenyan iko na stigma.
Yes.
Alafu fike Madhare and then useme, but then I'm here because I'm transgender and I think I have gender dysphoria and I think actually I deserve to be put maybe in a ward that affirms my gender. Do you see how that's another level of stigma? So generally mental health or barriers to care, if I could fall on an individual, I think sometimes we go back to blaming the individual. Like, for example, why would you choose that coping mechanism, right? Why didn't you go for therapy? Mbona drug abuse? And you said something about people not knowing any better, right? So if you come, especially within our community, you come into a community that's already marginalized. And the easiest thing that we use to cope in nini, it's drugs and alcohol. It's in our social spaces. It's in our personal spaces. So it's in your face at every time. And but that is your coping mechanism. And even this joke, it's cheaper than therapy. So
Yeah, right.
so instead of putting the blame on the individual, we need to look at the structural factors, which will come as stigma and discrimination and marginalization that could drive a person kwanza akuwe more vulnerable to mental health conditions, na second kukuwa na hizo barriers that ako nazo na anataka healthcare na ana deserve but haezi access those particular services.
Also, this is the kind of thing that I faced. When you identify as GNC, right? And also I have mental health issues. When I first sought professional help, the first thing I got was conversion therapy.
There's also that aspect.
Yes. If you don't get the right help, or if you're looking for a therapist, and then you get into spaces that I need help, and they offer you help, and then the first thing you sit in that therapy chair and you're like, I am GNC. And they're like, you do not know who you are? And then they try converting you. So you find yourself, you have gotten yourself into conversion therapy, not because you wanted to, but because
you were seeking assistance.
We were seeking assistance, but you do not have the right resources to do it. There's that.
Now there's that aspect of conversion practices coming in within you wanting to seek help, but with the layers of stigma and discrimination that already comes with you being you, and now access to mental health services, right? I want to take us back to the coping mechanisms. Yeah, what are some of the healthy coping mechanisms? And I know this is very it's a little tashwishi, but just to mention but a few, like zenye generally you very well know they might have helped, that were healthy for you, that have been healthy, like for people within the within the community. I get it. Do you your word? Within the community, like what are some of the things zenye zimekuwa zikiwork like through the years? Because I do understand that right now still bado hakuna a lot of limelight in mental health, as much as people do not also know that they are entitled to that, by the virtue of them being human. Like nini hizi zenye zimekuwa zikiwork over time. Yeah. Tutanza tu na wewe.
God damn. What has worked for me?
Yeah.
I remember the whole of last year I was really good with working out. So I had a bike, but nilikuwa kanairo ikaibo. So now I don't have a bike. I used to go to the gym, but tuko kwa hii economy gym ikafungwa. Okay, I'm going through it, guys. I need a therapist.
The universe is testing.
It's just being tested. But that being said, I also found I wouldn't say a club. I didn't found God. No, but I found one of my friends and we were able to do this thing. We'd write poems like and it really, lets you explore emotions and all that. So there's that. And I also what's it called? I do art, basically, like I paint and all that. But I haven't done it this year. The year is young.
Yeah,
It's
very
young. It's very
Very.
young.
But like for me it was that channeling into exercise, channeling into art, whatever form of art, traveling. And I know how that sounds, but something as simple as going to the museum. I used to have another friend who we used to go to the museum together, and in the museum there's the museum itself, and then there's like the nature trail. So I really didn't have the finances to go to Karura or Olulua, but I had the finances to go to hapa tu tao, unatembea kutoka BS, unafika hapo Museum Hill, unaingia na ni free. So that really held me together. That being said, the last point that I wanted to say is also finding a sense of community. We usually talk about your biological family and your chosen family. So I was able to get my chosen family, be it my best friends, my brothers, and all that. So I got that support from them that if I'm going through this, they're aware about what bipolar looks like for me, and they give me that support. They're like, wait, umekunywa dawa, bro. So I think that usually keeps me on toes, because it reaches a point when you're on psychiatric medication, you get the pill burden. So with the assistance from now that support system, accountability buddies and all that, and starting a support group for people on medication now in Jinsiangu, so that we're like always checking in on each other, like, hey, how are you guys doing? How are your drugs taking you? So finding that sense of community is the point that I wanted to stress on as my final.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful. Also, please add that
Oh,
the
sawa,
poetry
sawa.
group
Application
have
form.
I hope I'm a membership fee.
Yeah, you have to have
Kai.
Wow. I got my zone out thinking about the poetry thing.
Right?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I would have seen work for our members. I know maybe some people take for granted talk therapy, but I think it works wonders. And not just for people who have been diagnosed with mental health conditions, but for people generally. I used to have a mentor who used to say, like, if your mind is healthy, then you can conquer anything. And it's okay to just go and talk to someone. You don't have to, like, hit rock bottom for you to start doing that. I think that's one of the best coping mechanisms that are out there. And of course, communal support. They do not it does not necessarily have to take the format of a support group, but like you're saying, alternative methods of communal support, like even just meeting here for movie nights, for communal events. Like, I don't know, like, personally as a marginalized person, I found a lot of I used to find, I still find a lot of strength in my community. Like, I look forward to seeing people. We do not need to do something that capitalism would call significant, but just being there with people, talking to people. And I've seen that also help a lot of people. A lot of people who in our community will just ask for a space, like, can I just come and be with people? And that helps them a lot. Yeah.
That's good.
How about you? Oh, you had already told us about it. Now that you've mentioned the safe spaces, I also want us to, like, before you wrap up, just mention some of the few. Like, okay, here's a scenario. I have mental health issues. What would you advise me to do? For example, I, as Susan, come to you, told you, hey, me, I have been down. I cannot even get a cup off my table. Leave alone kufungua curtains. That's already too much work. Contemplating on kujifunua nitoke kwa bed. Yeah, like, what would you advise me to do?
You cannot start. I refuse.
Carry the burden.
No.
Carry the burden.
Let's do rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, you.
We'll be doing rock, paper,
Okay,
scissors.
fine.
Rock, paper, scissors. Shoot.
Alright.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
I mean, alright, you go.
Okay. We're talking about someone who is struggling to get out of bed.
Yes.
As someone who has struggled to even open my eyes, because I'm like, why the fuck did I not? I'm supposed to cuss on that. Why did I not die in my sleep? Why did I not die in my own sleep? I think the only thing someone could have told me is it's okay to feel like you need to exit the world. I I do not need someone. What I needed the last time is not someone who is convincing me why I should be alive. Because me, I don't feel like I should be. If I am struggling to get out of bed, I don't need the pity party or. But you make so much effort. You do so much for people. I know, and I'm tired. I do not want to be there for people. I cannot be there for myself. So you telling me I do so much for people? I know I cannot do it. So I think when people tell you, if someone calls, I think this comes in as psychological first aid. When someone calls you, like, Susan, I cannot get out of bed. Your first thought should not be, oh, but you should. The world is so bright. No. Entertain them in that thought. Tell them, ask them what is happening in that moment. Entertain their thought process. Because if you can understand me in my blanket, you can understand me outside of it. Yes.
That's a very good view of it.
Yes.
Okay. And what are some of the places you can refer these people? Like, I am so sure our viewers do not know a number of places where they can go. One, most of them are sexual and gender minorities. Like, tumesikia the entire whole, like, layers and layers and layers of stigma zenye ziko huko nje. Like, ni wapi wanaanzia? Manze, mi sijui ndaanzia wapi. Yeah. Because at that time, msetu wako hapo wako peke yake. Anawasikiza right now. Like, mneza mrifa wapi? Anzie wapi?
I'm assuming because you're always asking questions and then you look at me.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to
complain.
No, I was like,
So, as a mental health coordinator in Jinsiangu, and I think we've already understood that Jinsiangu works with gender minorities. The program is usually run like this. You reach out to us. Yes, I'm gender minority, and these are the needs that I need. But before we even, because in the back of their heads, trans and gender diverse persons are usually like, I just want to transition, everything will be fine. But now that's the thing. You transition and you still haven't dealt with the underlying issues, the stigma and discrimination you've gone through from family to the religious sector to school. You haven't dealt with that. So before anyone transitions, we do what? We refer them to our therapist. And it's usually free of charge because that's basically in our mandate to provide psychosocial support for our members. You go through therapy and you get diagnosed with what mental illness you have. Let me use myself as an example. So I come here at Jinsiangu and I'm like, yes, I need to transition to fix everything. But I started transitioning, my social transitioning, my legal transitioning, but I still had like underlying issues, the mood disorder and so on and so forth, dealing with family. And I was advised, Jinsiangu offers therapy. So I started therapy. And a year into it, my therapist was like, you know what, Tak, I think I should refer you to a psychiatrist. Jinsiangu still also partners with psychiatric stakeholders. So I went to the psychiatrist, got the psychiatric needs that I had. And so, you start from therapy, the therapist takes you through it, you go through psychiatric attention, and you get onto medication, we provide you with medication, and you still get that sense of community. I think I spoke about this earlier in the video when I was saying that there is a support group for people who are in psychiatric medication, because it's a whole roller coaster. Dealing with your body coming to terms with there's a new drug being introduced to your body, dealing with your family seeing you every morning, pap, wanashanga hizo si njugu, hizo ni madawa za nini. So having to deal with that, having a safe space for you to actually talk about, what, it's okay, I'm on medication, these are the medications I take, these are the symptoms. How do you deal with your symptoms when you have those medications? So for gender diverse persons, it's just reaching out and saying, this is what I'm going through. And there's no weakness in reaching out. There's no, you are not weak because you have a mental illness. And I think the society has that stigma. Yeah, because wewe umechizi, yeah, watu ni wale wase wenye wanachukua matakataka tao. But look at us, we sit here in front of you, okay, accept you.
Oh.
We sit here and we are, functioning members of the society because we reached out. And it's also okay not to reach out to psychiatric assistance, but having that sort of community, as we have already spoken
Oh my God, you're only speaking in Kopa. I'm actually, I hope my pick. I picked up a few things. Yes, you talk too much, but anyone has a parting shot? Because I do. I was okay.
Go ahead.
I go ahead.
Yes,
You can start and then we go.
Well, in a world where you can be anything, just be kind. Honestly, people are already going through it. Just be kind. You never know what this person is going through. You don't need to add more salt on the injury. Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
Covers it. Covers it.
Yes.
Well,
Very
it's a
cool.
wrap. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.